Talk about that a little more, because you said you're glad that it happened and it brought an exciting new challenge. Like, otherwise it's really, you're not in a really like competitive setting. Like, you're going to dominate these guys, but you come through with a serious injury and beat multiple national champions. Like, I don't even know All-Americans, this or that, and then come out on top. What do you think? How are you able to do that? Like, mentally, what was like in your mind, let's say like in the tournament, like how are you able to like get into the right place and not think like, oh, what happens, if I lose, or my knee, this or that? Like, how did you just lock in those moments?
I don't think there was a moment like in the tournament where it's a mindset thing. I just think it's just who I am. It's like an everyday thing, and I think it's a big credit to my dad and my mom and like how I was brought up and how I was raised. We didn't really have much and things like that. And so I remember in wrestling, I grew up in Pennsylvania. So, I mean, I went to like a lot of tough tournaments and things like that. So going into high school, I think I didn't take a loss for like 5 years, something like that. So like in my head, I'm thinking like, all right, I'm pretty good. And like for me, I just wrestled just because it was what my dad had me doing. And so I don't know if I loved it. I was just good at it.
Yeah.
And so I always worked hard. And then going in my freshman year in high school, I'll never forget this. I took 8th place at states that year.
Wow.
And literally, like, I'll never forget how my heart felt, and just like I just felt like so bad and just so like disappointed. Like, not even myself, just like in my family, like everyone's in the stands and just like myself. And like for me, that was a huge turning point, and just like what I was gonna do with my life. And I remember it was like 3 months. I didn't talk to my parents. I was in my room. Like, I didn't come out for dinner or anything.
Wow.
And I like locked myself in my room, and because like I never really watched wrestling. I never really cared about it. I just like always kind of did it.
Yeah. And
looked up Nickal, looked up Cassar, looked up Penn State. Like, I literally just watched everything about wrestling, like all the World Team Trial Finals. I was watching interviews, and I was just seeing what like all the guys at the top were doing. And so if you guys said something, I was doing something. You know what I mean? I remember when you went up a weight class and you were saying that you were eating like a bunch of rice and like ground beef. I was like, Dad, that's what we did. And my dad told me, and my dad, like, he's real opinionated, and like whatever he says goes. And so, and he's a big guy. So I was like, all right, I can't take this guy out. So I gotta do what he says. And so, but when I came out of my room, I was like, listen, dude, I had a whole big list. And I was like, listen, this is what's going to happen. And if this is not what's going to happen, like, I'm going to leave. Like, I'm going to move out. And I was like serious, because I was like, dude, I'm never going to lose again. Like, that's just like.
That was freshman year?
If I was freshman year of high school.
Wow.
And everyone was like my coach was like, man, like, 8th and stays a freshman. Right. Like, dude, you're a stud. Dude, I wanted to punch him in the face so bad. I was so mad. I'm like, dude, like, you're the reason why I took it.
That type of attitude.
Yeah, I was so bad. And so I just think just having all those experiences, and like I just never forget about that stuff. And then just like obviously like through the injury, and you said like, how do I stay composed and things like that. And when I talk to a lot of people, when they ask me this question, like, they're like, hey man, like, when I give them the answer, they're like, it's just like wrestling. But for me, it's like, it's not just wrestling. Like, I was willing to like have my whole leg taken off out there. Like, I treat it as like I'm going to war. Like I'm battling. So if someone wants to grab that leg and freaking take it home, like, that's fine, but I'm gonna win this match. You know. And that's just kind of how I approach it. I mean, that's kind of how I approach, like, it's my everyday. And I just think it's that mindset. You have to feed those thoughts on an everyday basis. And obviously having Coach Kale, I mean, he made like a huge mark in the tournament. You can see it was the second day of the NCAAs. There was a big change in my wrestling. The first 2 matches, I got taken down first, and I was playing it smart and things like that. And then I'm just like in the locker room, just having my head down. I'm like, man, this is not fun. Like, I'm just like, I'm not doing what I want to do out there. And then Coach Kale like taps me on the shoulder. He was like, hey man, you know, you're not going to win this tournament with a bum knee and a bum attitude.
Wow.
And you're kind of stuck with a bum knee. So let's kind of change your attitude and like, let's have some fun out there. He was like, hit your knees fine. Everything's fine. Like, you know what I mean? And then once he said that, I'm like going back to the hotel, and like I'm cutting weight, and I'm just that whole sentence just on replay the whole time. I'm like, all right, like, he's right. And so then I kind of I kind of changed my attitude.
Bro, it's crazy how he can just like put you in the right place with one little sentence.
Dude,
he's so
Houdini.
good at it.
He's Houdini.
Yeah, bro. I love I love that he can do that. I remember 2018, my junior year, I was in the finals against Miles and the guy who had beat me in my freshman year, and Coach Kale, I was like so nervous, bro. Like I had never been nervous like that for a match, because I was like, yo, this is the team title. Like, this isn't just me anymore. This is like the wrestling team, my family. This is Penn State. We're in the middle of Ohio. We're in Cleveland, Ohio at the time too. So the entire crowd is all red Ohio State. And I was like, oh shit, this is really crazy. And I was just sitting there like this, like just kind of like tapping my knee a little bit. And I was up in maybe like 2 or 3 matches. And Coach Kale came up to me and was like, hey, I just want to let you know, if I had to pick anybody to wrestle this match right now, I would pick you. And I was like, let's go. Let's freaking go. Like, I was like, let's do it. Yeah. And then obviously, pin the dude. And then after the match, I don't
the coaches were pumped, dude.
That's the only I was literally going to say, that's the only time I've seen him do that, bro. But it was wild. And
it's like 10 years built up.
I know, it was like all that, right? And so after the match, I'm like celebrating like crazy, about to do the interview. Coach Kale runs up to me. He's like, hey, calm down. You're about to be interviewed on ESPN. I'm like, all right, coach, it's cool. It's cool. Give the interview, and it was like a crazy interview. I had no idea what I said. Next day, I just get it.
That was when you dropped the it was that speech.
That's what we do. Yeah. I was like, I violated a lot of people, but it was just due, because those guys were talking crazy, bro. Yeah. Ohio State was like freaking Snyder. These dudes talking like they're about to smack us. Like, nah, bro, not happening. But I didn't know what I said. I was just like in that moment, and it just kept going, and like got with the crew after, just so hyped. And the next day, we're on the bus driving back, and I just get a text. He's like, best interview ever from Coach Kale. And I was like, what? What'd I say? Go back and look at it. And I went off. And I was like, that's not like him. Normally he'd be like, shut up. Like, I remember I pinned a kid from Iowa, and the crowd was going, they were going nuts before the match. And so I gave him a little bit of this, and he was like, hey, knock it off. Like yelling at me and stuff. But he knows when the right moment is. And he knows what to say. When it comes down to it, he can freaking get you where you need to be.